welcome to Detroit in Black and White Friday night's edition. We're here, we are here. If you are watching, we need for you to hit the like button. Subscribe to Detroit in Black and White on YouTube. It's a red microphone. Detroit in Black and White. Hit that like button, hit that like button, hit that like button. This evening, who we have on deck is Mr. Allan Lengel. Yay!
Hello.
And we also have Mr. Jim Nardone.
Happy Friday.
Y'all notice I don't do all them titles like Adolph does. We also have Mr. Eric Brown, although he just have Eric. What's up? Hey, Eric, yay!
You got to stand up as well as applaud.
And you have myself. So, and I'm Vanessa Moss for all of you that don't know who I am. I am Vanessa Moss. So Adolph is not with us tonight, but he's with us in spirit. So we wanted to start off. I'll start off with the first person I introduced tonight. That'll be Allan. What do you want to talk about?
I'd actually like to talk about some of the stuff that you mentioned before the show started.
Okay, that's cool.
About the DEI. I mean, it's chilling. Not only, I mean, we'll get to what Trump said about, first of all, what he said. He started blaming DEI right away for the plane crash, which is like, I'm sorry, it's just code word. DEI is code word there. It's racist. It's total bullshit. We saw at Michigan State this week, the head of the director of DEI for the communications department canceled the Lunar New Year celebration on Wednesday for fear of some type of retaliation from the administration, maybe cutting off federal funds if they celebrated the Lunar New Year. And so a student group came forward the next day and did have a celebration. But you know, the chilling effect and the really the fear is people are overreacting and being so fearful of this guy, you know, dictating. You know, they had Kash Patel, the FBI director, who's been nominated for FBI director. He says no retaliation against any of the people who investigated Trump. Trump is now demanded resignations today or they'll be fired. And then Trump said, I have nothing to do with it. So I don't know. I think people, you know, have to be aware of what's going on. So that's mine.
Jim?
I just want to say hello to our friends out there, our colleagues that are watching tonight. And as you said, YouTube, but we can remind people that you can find us wherever you get your podcast, whether you want to listen to us in 3 or 4 days on Apple or Spotify, YouTube, Deadline Detroit, Facebook, Detroit in Black and White Facebook. Right. Just watch us. We like it when we're live, but if you want to catch it in a few days, please do that. So I wanted to talk. I guess I wanted some thoughts from the panel and maybe some of our viewers about. I'm not being critical. I know that, you know, I'm a Harley Davidson enthusiast. I guess I've owned 6 Harley Davidsons.
Oh, really? I didn't know you right.
Yes. But
oh, wow.
Back in 1982, Ronald Reagan was our president. It seems like a lot of things that happened back in those days are kind of coming back again. But in 1982, Harley Davidson was on its heels for sure. And AMF, American Machinery and Foundry, bought Harley Davidson in 1969 and sold them in 1981 to Willie G. Davidson, a grandson of the founder, and some other people. And they went to the president at that time, who was Ronald Reagan. I'm kidding. And they raised the tariffs to 49.4% from 4.4% on Japanese motorcycles. And in doing research, you know, tariffs are given the credit for the rebirth of Harley Davidson. But a deeper dive kind of tells you that, sure, tariffs may have helped temporarily. That was when they just sold in 81 and the tariffs went into effect in 82. But business people argue that Harley got it together going forward in the 80s. They retooled their plants just in time. and they changed their engines from the hard tail to a rubber mounted engine. The reason I bring that up is I'm not sure how I feel about tariffs, but Harley has been one of those examples where they said tariffs saved Harley Davidson, and I'm not sure if that's true or not. I just kind of want everybody's opinion.
I don't know. Anybody have an opinion? I have an opinion, but
look,
yeah.
I don't have enough information. I'm not even going to try to pretend.
I mean, to me, it's a game of chicken. It's going to raise the prices for us. It's going to raise the prices on crops. I mean, we get avocados from Mexico. We get other crops from Mexico, particularly during the winter seasons. The car parts. I mean, Ford, GM had plants in Mexico. The Mustang, the electric Mustang, is made down in Mexico. There's a lot of other. Cadillac makes a car down in Mexico. We get parts from Canada. I mean, it's a game of chicken, I guess. I think it's kind of Trump wants. I mean, the concept is great. People will say, okay, let's start making everything here so we don't have to pay a tariff. But the reality is that takes years and years. We've got plants. The major corporations, GM, Ford, have plants down in Mexico. They have plants in Canada. It would take a long time beyond the 4 years that Trump is here. So I think it's a dangerous game of chicken.
Eric, you want to opine?
No, I want to give my perspective on what's on my mind.
Okay.
Let's move on.
Let's go.
This message is for Black America. Allan brought up DEI. He spoke about what Trump said after the plane crash. He made the comment about those that were involved without even knowing the color. So black people automatically assume he is fucking talking about black people. So instead of worrying about DEI, my message to black people, worry about LITERACY. The National Report Card came out just the other day. In every fucking urban community in America, black K through 12 kids are at the bottom of the totem pole. Right here in Detroit, for the last 9+ years, Detroit, for all large urban districts, have been at the bottom of the totem pole. Fuck DEI. We need to focus on literacy. And until we understand that, there will be a major continuous problem with a lack of education and a filling up of jails. I have no idea why we don't get that yet. I guess it's going to take them to build more jails to house black people. But DEI is not our issue. DEI is not an issue for Black America.
So before we start the show, I want to
go ahead.
I talked about the first of all, my heart goes out to those people who've lost family members in that plane crash yesterday. Just very, very, very sad. I'm disappointed that the leader of these United States of America decided to go out and make these statements about they were DEI hires, etc., wanting to place blame on whoever or whatever. My problem with that is this: you're the leader. It was very inappropriate for him to say those things, period. As far as Eric is concerned about DEI, I think that you can chew gum and walk at the same time. I don't think that you should just say F DEI. I think education is very important. I think it's important for us as a country, and I think it's a problem across the country. When you're talking about Black America, absolutely the urban areas, education is an issue. But I do not think that is the only issue, or that is the issue that we should be focusing on. I think we can chew gum and walk at the same time. Okay,
we should not be using it as a boogeyman. Whatever he says, my point to Black America is do not refer back to that as if he's talking about us. We're not the beneficiaries of DEI. Studies have shown that There's evidence to prove that. So why we're focusing on that is beyond me.
Okay, we have a viewer, Duela said all of it is an issue. We should be able to focus on more than one issue at a time. I agree. Odell Brown said education is very important. I've said the same thing, but Allan, you want to chime in?
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree that literacy is a big issue, but when we're talking, it doesn't matter even. But when he's talking about DEI, he is talking about blacks. He's talking maybe transgender, maybe some other folks. But we're talking about people, and because literacy is an important thing, but also so is bigotry and the openness. I'll read you right here. There's a wrestler from the UFC, fighter Bryce Mitchell, who just praised Adolf Hitler and said what a great guy he is. And, it was talking about the Jews and anti-Semitism and stuff like that. I mean, we're letting all that stuff seep back into society. That doesn't mean we don't concentrate on other things like literacy, which is extremely important, but so is civility, so is acceptance of people who are different than us.
Now, Allan, you said that we are allowing this to seep back into society. I don't think it ever left.
No, it never left.
I don't think it has gone anywhere. I just think that
become more
because
acceptable.
of the leadership, people feel emboldened to say how they really feel.
Well,
and
yeah.
You have to make a decision whether or not you really want to know how this person who sits next to you every day feels, or how they view the world, or whether or not you want to keep blinders on and not know. I'd rather know who the boogeyman is as opposed to not know. What do you say, Jim?
Well, this is one of the issues that I was really offended by, and it goes along the lines with what Allan is saying. This may be directed mainly at Black people, but when you talk about people with physical challenges, there are people out there making effort in this country that through no fault of their own have physical challenges, right? They may have grown up with physical challenges. I have no problem with somebody that's paralyzed from the waist down being an air traffic controller. I'm not sure why we've attacked those people in addition to everybody else. And my mother was physically challenged from her 50s with multiple sclerosis, and that didn't mean she was not a valuable member of society. Where are we at? And again, what Allan's saying is we're just attacking everybody that we don't agree with or that we don't like or we don't believe is the same as us.
Right.
My point is this. He said that those air traffic controllers, pilots in a helicopter, pilots in a plane were DEI.
Fired everybody, sir. When you fired everybody, so go ahead.
Are DEI hires? How is me as a Black person? How, in any way, am I interpreting that it's him talking about Black people and being racist? There's no. He didn't know the
you're a Black person and you used to being picked on, Eric. I don't think that
Black people. Vanessa, let me finish. Let me finish. At the end of the day. At the end of the day,
not fair, and you beat
up. At the end of the day, how are Black people? Perspective. How are Black people offended by his
about to cut the commercial? We hold that, Eric. Hold it. We're going to cut the commercial. We're going to come back to you.
When we come back, can we address some of the comments?
Yes,
Vanessa, please.
Absolutely.
Would you do that, please?
Yep.
In the heart of Detroit, Bruce Simpson. Our city ombudsman and his team are dedicated to making your voice heard. The City of Detroit Ombudsman is a liaison between the City of Detroit and all persons who have a complaint or inquiry into the operation of a city department or the conduct of a city employee. The Ombudsman works as an independent oversight to provide individuals with an opportunity of giving a confidential avenue to address complaints. You can reach the Ombudsman's office at 313-224-6000 or email us at ombudsmandetroitmi.gov. You can also visit us at the Coleman A. Young Municipal Center. For more information, go to www.detroitmi.gov and type in Ombudsman. We are here to help. In Detroit, we are all one team. When you win, we all win.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in a home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
We're back, Detroit in black and white, Friday night's edition. Before we go back to Eric, so Eric can finish up his point, I want to acknowledge those people that have chimed in and joined in the conversation. We have Detroit Sucks. He says Eric is correct. Odell Rowan says DPS is so far behind in touch. It's sickening.
Teaching, I think.
Cruz Nation says bigotry in administration leads to lack of funding in lower socioeconomic areas, hence lower literacy rates, etc. Detroit Sucks says as long as there is Jewish behavior, there will always be anti-Semitism. Sorry,
I would like to know what Jewish behavior. I'd like to know what Jewish behavior
means. And Mark
Mark
Dowlander said, "What is Jewish behavior?" Odell says we have to anchor to one issue to solve the problems. So we got a lot to address here. Go ahead, Eric, and then go after Eric. Then we go to you, Allan.
As a black man that is now 60 years old, I've experienced racism. I went to college in Alabama for 2 years. I lived in North Carolina for 4 years. A white man called me boy, and I guarantee you that he would never call another black man boy for the rest of his life. So much so that he wrote a letter of apology. I don't play these games about racism. I don't automatically equate words, boogeyman words, to someone being racist. Donald Trump is who he is. His followers are who they are. I've been in the fraternity for 40-something years. I've seen people suck, kiss ass, do everything in a volunteer organization that means nothing at the end of the day. So I don't need to be preached to about how I feel about DEI and my passion for literacy. They're not one and the same. It is not a matter of doing both. DEI, even as a human resource professional, means nothing at all.
Well,
It pacified people after George Floyd. 80% of the programs that were put into place no longer exist, but we still talking about DEI as black people. Come on, move on.
Yeah, Eric, I totally disagree. Go ahead, Allan.
I was going to say, Eric, that's your opinion. It's not wrong, but
it's not my opinion. I have fact to back up my opinion. Again, 80% of DEI programs do not fucking exist.
I don't feel the same way, so it is.
It sounds like that.
And your opinion belongs to you.
Yes.
Go ahead, Allan.
I agree. So anyways, when somebody says, as long as there's Jewish behavior, there will always be anti-Semitism, that sounds like a pretty anti-Semitic thing. My interpretation is they're saying, as long as Jews are Jews, there's going to be people hating Jews. And I want to know what the fuck that means. So, I mean, that's about as anti-Semitic as you can get. So.
Okay. All right.
Can I say hi to somebody? Hi to Stephanie Powell.
Detroit Sucks. They don't get it. Thank you, Detroit Sucks.
I say hi to Stephanie Powell, an old friend of ours from Detroit. Let's just
Who is
say
that now?
Stephanie Powell. She says she watches.
Well,
I want to say hello to Stephanie.
Right. Odell says he thought this topic died with affirmative action. Well, we're gonna change. We're gonna pivot a little bit because before we go ahead.
Well, when he says correct, poisoning the well, you know what? I know some bad Jews. I know some people that I want nothing to associate with in the same way that I know bad people in every other race. But for all of us to collectively have to be subjected to racism, anti-Semitism, because there's some people who happen to have the same religion or whatever, or the same race. I mean, that's what we call racism. That's what we call bigotry, when the behavior of some people becomes a stereotype and that we all have to pay for it. So you can be bigoted. I don't care, but that's your right. But at least let you know that you are being bigoted.
So before we came on the show, there was something that I was also talking about in addition to the plane crash. Yesterday and today, there is our mayor of the city of Detroit made the news, And one of the hot button issues during this campaign season was immigration. And this group is picking on, as far as I'm concerned, is picking on the mayor of the city of Detroit because he used the terminology of illegal immigrants. And so that is like using, the R word or the N word or some craziness, as far as I'm concerned, that he should not use that terminology. I am sick and tired of people feeling like they can correct you on something that's right. If you're an illegal immigrant, that's what you are. What is wrong with him saying that?
Nothing at all, because you go back to the first administration of Barack Obama, he talked about getting rid of all the illegal immigrants, but people have selective memory based on who the messenger is. It's called hypocrisy.
Allan?
I'm sorry. I was just say it again. I was just.
We're talking about what we were talking about before we went on air about the mayor of the city of Detroit and how he's being attacked to use the illegal immigrants. And they're pissed off. There's a group of people that's really pissed off that he used it, and he's not backing down. Basically, he said, "I said what I said," and I am of the opinion I agree with him.
Yeah. So, I think here's the thing is that, some people ask to be like, Indians have asked to be called Native Americans. We can ignore that and say, damn it, you're Indian. So, shut the fuck up. When some groups now, they try to have different names. I mean, are some of these, they say undocumented workers here. I think what it is, the idea is that they're a person. And they're saying you're an illegal person when they're trying to say, okay, you're not documented to be here legally. So you can respect that. And what Duggan is doing is taking on a Republican persona, trying to say, screw that, screw political correctness. I'm going to call it like it is. And he's trying to appeal to a more conservative base, which that's his thing. Now he's an independent. He's got to go for more than just the Democrats. And so I don't know. I get what you're all saying, but people have decided that's an offensive term.
So what would be a non-offensive term? What is
undocumented?
A non-offensive term? Educate me.
Yeah, undocumented is the proper term.
Undocumented people?
Undocumented immigrants, whatever is fine. But it's like housing. Homeless. I was out in California.
I use unhoused.
Unhoused. And a friend who's very politically correct. She's in LA. She's a writer, written many books. And she uses the word unhoused, and I'd say, well, how about the homeless? And she'll go, well, you mean the unhoused? And it's like, I'm used to the whole. We call the Detroit riot. It's the Detroit riot. Then it was the Detroit civil unrest, civil disobedience,
absolutely,
whatever.
Right.
And so I don't know, how much do we acquiesce to political correctness? It's, people are entitled to say what they want to say.
Well, you know what? I'm going to give you and Jim credit because I didn't think of it that way, of his political leaning, him leaning more towards the conservatives because he's running for governor of the United States. Governor of the state of Michigan. I didn't think of it that way. That's the wonderful thing about Detroit Black and White. We have all these different perspectives, and it allows you to open up your mind and say, oh, okay, I did not look at it that way.
Look, the Redskins, the Washington Redskins, there's been a whole thing to get the Cleveland Indians are no longer the Cleveland Indians, the Washington Redskins. And a lot of people, even, I had a good friend who passed away in Washington. He was a huge Redskin fan, and he was a Native American. He says, doesn't bother me at all. I like Redskin. But there were a group that felt it was denigrating, and they didn't like it.
Speaking of which, as a Black woman, I prefer to say Black as opposed to African American. African American is politically correct, but I refer to myself as what I believe I am, as a Black woman. Some people say brown. They say you're not Black, you're actually brown. So I get it.
But I think the catch is to criminalize immigrants that have crossed the border illegally. And technically, they're illegal. You can argue
They are here illegally.
You can argue that they're illegal immigrants, but I don't think that's useful. That's more of a Donald Trump kind of term, illegal, and it's come out of favor. It only comes back into favor for the people that are, I guess, on that side where they're anxious to get rid of all these folks. So.
Again, Jim, Barack Obama referred to them as illegal immigrants back in 2012 as well, and it became politically correct. So we can't pick and choose based on who the person is. And I think, I'm not a fan of Donald Trump at all, but I will say a broke clock is right twice a day. So I'm going to give the guy credit. Again, he reiterated again today about birthright citizenship and who are the ones that should have benefited from that. Slaves. No one is talking about that. That was an absolute 100% correct statement. Well, why nobody talking about that? So
I'm not talking about
Nobody is talking about this. Nobody is talking about it. You talking about it.
I'm talking about the movement to.
No, I'm talking, but people
tend just the word that
pile up on his negativities and don't want to address when he's right. That's my problem with the political system today.
I don't care what they call people. I understand what the message is by calling him a person undocumented versus calling them illegal. I understand what the message is.
My point was he correctly spoke to birthright citizenship in slavery and who should be the only ones that have benefited from it. No one is talking about that. That's my point. The illegal immigrants and all that, that's a non-issue for me. He was right about the 14th Amendment. No one is talking about that. Not even black people, because they hate the man so much. Give a man credit when he does something right. That's my point.
You know what, Eric? Let me say this. I will echo, and I'll get to you, Allan. I will echo, and I've said this on the show more than once. No person, everything that they do is not all right and it's not all wrong. But the messenger makes the difference. And because he is delivering the message and the way he delivered the message, guess what? There are a lot of people who just are like this. We don't want to hear it. Now, you're absolutely correct, Eric, because I read several articles today about what he said about the 14th Amendment. And I agree with you in that there's not a whole lot of talk about it. Clearly, there is talk about it because you and I read about it. And we're talking about it tonight on Detroit in Black and White. Allan, you want to say something, and then I'm going to get to a couple of comments.
I wanted to tell a quick story, if I could condense it real quick, about being called black or African American. When I was at the Washington Post, did a story about a Denny's. They built this beautiful Denny's, the nicest one I'd ever seen, on the other side of the river, where there were no sit-down restaurants, there were no family restaurants. And I went there on a Sunday and I did a story. I'd interviewed the owner previously, and I went to interview, the whole church crowd was there, and women with these great hats, and everybody was dressed up. And I was sliding from table to table, and I went to one table where a bishop was there with a woman, I don't know, a girlfriend or wife or whatever. And so I said, well, what do you think? And he goes, this is great. We finally have a nice place to go after church. And he says, it's just too bad it's not black owned. And I said, oh, yes, it is. And he goes, no, it's not. And I said, yeah. I said, I interviewed the owner the other day. He's from Nigeria. And he said, he's not black. And I was puzzled. And I went back to the newsroom and I asked some of the black reporters, I said, what's up with that? And he says, well, a lot of the black people here don't consider the Africans black because they disrespect us or whatever. And so after that, I just thought, why do so many people want to be called African Americans when they don't relate to the Africans?
Well, I'm going to make a statement that the Africans don't want us calling ourselves African Americans because they said that we're not African. Okay,
that's a whole other show. That would be a 12-hour show.
Right, and we could talk about that, but I'm going to get to a couple of comments. And Mark down under said the country is falling apart due to President Cheeto. FUCK political correctness, and let's discuss how to save some semblance of a country before it ends forever. Derek Henry says a broken clock is right twice a day. Detroit sucks says that's an FBA thing. I don't know what that means. I don't know what he's talking about. That's an FBA
He's
thing.
talking about the Africans' perspective and Black people,
Okay.
Foundational Black Americans.
Okay. All right.
And thanks,
so,
Mark.
guess
Mark's
what?
looking at the big picture. Thank you, Mark.
Right. So guess what? It's 9:00. It's time for us to go.
Already?
I want to thank everybody that has joined in on the conversation today. We will be back tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be an extended show. We have a lot of guests on the show tomorrow. We will be on from 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. So we want you guys to join in. If you want to come down to McShane's, you're welcome to do so. Tomorrow is the first day of American Black History Month. American Black History Month. So tomorrow we're going to acknowledge some great Americans that are Black or Black Americans that have made great contributions to these United States of America.
Can you give some details about tomorrow's show? I think that would be important.
Okay, so tomorrow we have the police chief, Detroit Police Chief Todd Bedison. We also have the deputy, Raphael Washington. We also have the police chief of down in Trenton that's going to be on the show. We're going to have Ed Sarpolis on the show. We're going to have Mark DeAndre on the show, and we're going to have attorney
Maurice Morton
on the show, who's going to talk about his niece. She's the young lady that out in Macomb County that went missing, and her boyfriend has been charged with murder. So he's going to talk about some developments and what's, the frustration of, working with the police department and trying to locate his niece and etc. So we have, 6 guests, maybe 7 guests tomorrow. So fun-filled, action-packed, information-packed, spirited conversation tomorrow. So we will see you guys tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Thank you, Marlon Holt. Thank you, Odell. Thank you, Jill. What's up, Jill? Thank you, Detroit Sucks. Thank you, Dewayla. Thank you, Derek Henry. We will see you guys tomorrow. Like, subscribe, share. Bye.